But just thank y'all. This has been an abundantly long journey that even as I'm sitting here, it's still surreal and I'm still waiting for the wake up, so thank you for that. But to the question of who is Tony Scott, I'm not used to talking about myself in third person. It feels weird as hell. I'm just me. I'm born in Cleveland, raised in East Cleveland, first generation, college graduate, and then by God's grace then obtained my master's in public administration and then my law degree. I've had a varied career. I was a Marine from 1990 to 98. So I served in Daddy's War, as I affectionately call it, which unfortunately we have not gotten out of since, but it's a whole nother diatribe. Catch me afterwards on my third drink. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. And where my writing journey first started was actually something in fiction, but I was pulling a lot of autobiographical components out of it. And honestly, I didn't have the mental capacity to do that at that time. I was like around between 2014 and 2015. Some of y'all knew me back then and have often commented that I'm a completely different person now than I was back then. Shout out to Alex, who's known me since 2003, who I give great credit for me being here. Also to Judge Melody Stewart in the background. Literally, I would not be a lawyer but for this. I'm not gonna tell. I never tell why, but for her grace, I would not be here.
Don't cry.
I know. No, the judge know why. I always get choked up a little when I mention that. But no, by God's grace, was able to get my education, be able to have varying levels of success and failures in my career. It took me to that point, like I said, 2014, 2015. I was working on something from had a lot of autobiographical content that I didn't have the mental health to endure. So I wanted to continue the writing growth, but I pivoted, and that's actually in 2016 when my fingers first hit the keys to start working on this book, Unlocking Potential. So it has been almost a 10-year journey to get to this point. And honestly, it was just born out of, I strongly believe in mentorship. I believe in, again, village and community, pouring into each other. I believe in supporting each other, and the whole, my consulting practice, ISI, is derived from Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron. So it's iron sharpens iron, so shall a man sharpen the countenance of his friend. And that's the whole premise behind this, is I want to put some of what my experiences have been in a book, share with others, whether you're younger, older. Honestly, it's not even about being black or white, but I wrote it for a very specific audience with a very specific attempt at being my authentic East Cleveland self. So that's why it was important to me to label it as I did. If I left any money on the table, so be it. I'll pick it up on the second and the third book. Coming to you soon. But yeah, that's me.
Well, a lot of layers behind this man. Thank you for sharing that. I want to stay there a little bit because you said it's a 10-year journey getting this book started and getting to the point where you publish, and we're here sitting here today. Why now? So why now? What are you hoping that people take away from this book in their journey of reading it?
I think honestly the now is more about just it is my personal journey. As I said, I've had a lot of time to grow. I'm 52 at this point, Black Don't Crack hashtag. But the last 5 to 8 years has been a lot of growth, a lot of transformation in my life, a lot of self-discovery, and I had to have a lot of hard truths with myself. Well, check yourself, right? I didn't like that. I felt that next to my name, there was an asterisk for hypocrite. There was a lot of things that I wasn't being honest with myself and about my community about. And by God's grace, I've had enough opportunity to make good on most of those things so I can stand in front of you more a whole version of who I am. And in the imposter syndrome book coming forward, the first chapter, I'm actually talking about my life. I'm putting myself on blast before any of the other people that I've interviewed. I'm putting them on blast. Well, actually, they'll all be anonymous, so I'm blasting myself. Everybody else is safe. But so again, why now? It's been that now's the time that I'm actually able to be focused. I have the support in my home, my family, my village, to take the time that this takes, the money that this takes, and to be able to move past my own humility / imposter syndrome and have the audacity to think that I have something to teach.
Yes.
And to put it out there for people to digest. And so that's the now. And honestly, what I commonly have started writing in a lot of people's books, not everybody, because I have horrible penmanship and I get writer's cramp. But honestly, I hope people get as much out of reading this as I did out of writing it, because it isn't just me sitting down with crayons scribbling what I think. It's actually taking some time, doing some research. My editor was, she would get on me saying, your tone keeps switching. You start being a bit more didactic. And I had to look it up, and essentially it's more of what's it mean? What's didactic mean?
When you're having two different conversations at the same time,
Yep.
you're polarized.
Yes, because I'm bipolar. Actually, no way. Hey, is that one of my diagnoses? Y'all think I'm kidding. Wait till you read it. But no, I mean, and that's what it is that putting it out there that hopefully you can learn. I think I said it to McKeel, he's back there somewhere, I can't see him. It's like the real reality is just putting it out there so that hopefully you can avoid some of the mistakes that I've made. And if you've made some of the mistakes that I've made, that you can course correct and continue to be what's your personal version of success, not what society dictates, but what your personal version of success is. That was long, man.
You feel
It felt long.
It was good. It was
It was
Love
great.
it.
It was, I'm just
Okay.
teasing. It's good. It's your party. It's your
Alex,
book.
it's
It's your
my
show.
party.
You're allowed. So I love the way, so two things. I love that we have the book in front of me, because I'm actually going to call attention to two specific areas of this book that I found incredibly motivating as well as reassuring, and kind of felt like I was having a good conversation with Tony as I was reading. So it's great that you guys all have the book, right? It's because as we're talking about the book, you can actually reference. So the first reference that I want to make is the section on health. I know he's made some jokes about he finally feels, mentally prepared to share a story and give insights. But if I bring you to page 152, 153, I think this might be one of the passages in the spaces that he'll talk about. But you spent some time talking about your journey, and you spent some time talking about mental health, your where your journey is, and you're extremely vulnerable. And I think a lot of us in our professional careers enter in that space. So can you tell me could you just maybe share a little perspective of what you want people to take away this specific section, or what was your willingness to be vulnerable? Maybe tell us a little bit more about that specific space, because it's a great chapter.
Sure, thank you. So this part does contain some more personal pieces. Some of you I've known a very long time, so you know my story. Shout out to one of my oldest friends in the room. Turk is over there in the corner. He's lived with me throughout a lot of the growth that I experienced. We are definitely not the men we were when we were almost 30 years old. That won't be in the book. But as a transparent moment, that neither my mother or my stepfather are with me anymore. Never knew the biological. I guess I'll put that in writing somewhere. My mother suffered through mental health most of my life, mental health challenges. Junior high school, 8th grade is kind of when her health started deteriorating. And so that has a trickle effect in how you process things. Then fast forward, learned that it was a trait. Their mental health challenges was a diagnosed trait within my family. So honestly, it was something that I always felt was there, tapping, but I never had the fortitude to press into it. So somewhere around 2021, in the midst of the pandemic, I started navigating the process of being compensated through the Department of Veteran Affairs. I try to be more eloquent, but this one it just hit a little different. So please forgive me. And I learned that I had a host of different diagnoses that were challenging. It gave me a little bit of peace, knowing that, okay, I no longer question it, but then how I navigated over the next few years, and now you've told me, so now I'm trying to process how I move. You know, again, some people have known me, some people have seen my angry side, some people have seen me try to be more professional and passive, some people have seen me in the midst, and that's where I try to be. I try to be more chill. But that was part of the journey. And not just the mental health, because I also talk about physical health. Again, for those that knew me, I mean, I used to be a personal trainer. I used to be a bodybuilder. I used to compete in powerlifting. Now I'm fat. However, but I am excited that I took a more proactive approach to my health, because on my birthday last year, I went to the VA and I got weighed in. I was 240 pounds. The absolute worst I'd ever been. And I'm like 5'7", 5'7.5" on a good day. Since then, I'm down to 218, I think it was this week. You know, but then part of that process was also taking the various meds for, now it's diabetes versus pre-diabetes, mental health, blood pressure, taking those things and being disciplined about them and being regimented, eating healthier, cut down on, contrary to what this might look like, cut down on the alcohol content. Those of y'all that know me know I Sarge used to get it in compared to now. We actually keep bottles at the house as decoration. Before that was ammunition. You know, so it's starting to moderate all those things. You know, the cigar consumption cut down. Hopefully I'll get to have one later on today if the weather permits. So it's just been about that journey. And so, and what you need to appreciate is when your physical and your mental health is better, you occupy your space better and you pour into those around you better. So it's talking about some very basic things such as macro and micronutrients and how you are responsible for meal planning, exercising moderation, but then also being cognizant about how you move within your mental health space. Make sure you are setting boundaries for yourself. Make sure you're giving your time, family. At this point now, I get up an hour and a half to 2 hours before the family to either work out, to, if I have some work to do, be it this or the job, check email, so I don't start my engine at 100. I rev into it. And some of that, honestly, we just sit on the couch, the lights are still off, the dog's sitting on my lap, I got my coffee, and I'm watching something on TV or on social media. So it's just about understanding what you need to be successful and incorporating it intentionally and strategically into how you navigate your day. And some of those things, I don't feel as I'm saying anything revolutionary. I haven't created anything. What I'm doing is trying to condense it, and whereas you read it, you like, oh crap, I thought that was just me. And then once you start realizing that you are part of a village, and then as Black males especially, you actually start being open and honest and vulnerable to some of those things, then you find that you can navigate in your space a little bit better, and then your village expands, and then, again, going back to the earlier point, you can start being more successful according to your standards and not chasing Jim, John, or James' standard of what you should do.
Well, thank you for that. So I don't know if you guys actually have started to comb through the book. I love the way that Tony actually organized the actual chapters in this book, because it's not something that you have to read A to Z. You can actually pick up a chapter if it's something that's a space I want to delve into. And he also provides not only kind of a summary bullet points, but he also gives you an opportunity to do some takeaways. So I encourage you guys all to really look at this as actual learning guide. I appreciate the vulnerability of talking about mental health and whatever health thing that we're going through, because not only does it give us a space as humans to say, okay, we all have our thing that we're working through, but we can also say that we also can be accomplished and professional and push through in what we value. So I think that's important. Talking about another segment of the book that I would just like to pick your brain on just a little bit before we do the actual official reading portion. How many entrepreneurs do we have in the room right now? Running a business, aspiring entrepreneurs. Okay, so it's hard. I'm one too. Running this looks like fun with a glass of wine, but it's not everyday fun. And you talk about, and so just another opportunity for you to flag a chapter. So the entrepreneurship section is on page 114. A lot of great insights of even how to frame. I loved how you talked about finding value first. 114. You talk about finding value to find purpose, or how you can add value to find purpose in order to be successful. And a lot of times we're chasing what could be profitable for us and what could be, what can make me another, dollar every day. But to be successful, you have to be passionate about it. So it's a great chapter. As an entrepreneur, I've actually reread it twice. And so if you can, is there a nugget that you want to share about your journey of being an entrepreneur, or maybe a highlight in that section that I think would be valuable for those of us that are on that journey, or maybe even considering that?
Shout out to my photographer Orlando. He is the young man that I talk about that I met in the book at the cigar lounge, and he just started picking my brain right there on the spot. Just Thursday, or was that Friday? When did we get together? Thursday? Thursday we were at yours truly, and we were talking about what the setup looks like for this, but then we moved into talking about, where is he with his business now, what can I help with, so forth and so on. And so we were talking about the marketing aspect and about being intentional. When you are an entrepreneur, it's not always your 9 to 5. Sometimes it's your 5 to 9, as it is with me. My 9 to 5, I'm an assistant director with the city of Cleveland. Shout out to all my city of Cleveland folks. I see some of my people from Public Works, which I escaped from. But God bless y'all for still fighting. I just left it auditory. But particularly when you're doing it in your 5 to 9, you have to be that much more intentional and strategic and cautious about how you move. And so we were talking, and I gave him 2 tasks that I wanted him to do. One, he had a very finite window because it was for an event on the 20th. He had sent me back some proofs of what I had told him to do by the 20th. And he had it that night. And so I love when I actually can give someone advice and they listen. Those that are my Omega brothers know I say I'm a deuce. I'm gonna tell you twice, and after that I'm done with you. So, that's real. Yeah, it's
Is that
real.
in the vocal chapter?
Nah, because, like my special brand is a 13. He ain't gonna waste 13 times telling you something. He actually gonna stop talking to you after the first time. But so I appreciate that if you give someone something and they're either asking for it or they're paying for it, actually take it. Because even if you give me your money, you play dominoes, all money ain't good money. I'm not gonna keep wasting my energy on you if you're not following the advice I give you or you paid for, because you are a reflection of me as a mentee, as a client, whatever. And so I appreciate you for following that, and I'm still waiting for the results of that second thing I told you to do. It ain't that easy. I understand it isn't as easy as the other thing. Let me rebound from this and we'll connect on it. I don't want to read a section per se. I want to be respectful of time. The thing that I would tell you, this is kind of my jewel that I live off of, and I've evolved it over the last 10 years. There's 3 P's I want you to internalize: passion, purpose, paycheck. Passion, purpose, paycheck. My 9 to 5, I'm passionate about what I do. My work within community development helps address the housing situation in the city of Cleveland. Managing the team that I do, I don't personally do that much, they do the work. It helps with developing housing, it helps with rehabbing, addressing the lead crisis in the city, the county, the state, the nation. So I'm passionate about that, but make no mistake, that's not my purpose. What I do in my 5 to 9 with ISI Consulting, working with small businesses, nonprofits, the boards I serve on, the personal and professional development that I give to my clients, which is where this book is born out of, that's my purpose. And I'm gonna continue to work until such a time that 5 to 9 eclipses that 9 to 5, whether it's retirement, because that's actually a reality now, whether it's retirement or whether I'm in a position to take that step of faith and leave. And then paycheck. My paycheck is decent in my 9 to 5, to be clear. You know, this work that I'm doing right now, let me be clear, at least as we're sitting here today, the cost of self-publishing, the value of my time in writing this, hiring an editor, some things I was able to do on my own. So actually I designed that cover for this book and for the book on imposter syndrome, because 1,000 years ago I wanted to be an artist at Marvel Comics. That had happened. But then by the time I got to the cover for the third book, fitting 25 into 24, I was at capacity. I kept trying to create it. It wasn't happening, so I commissioned somebody. Paying for this, y'all over there eating, and please eat. I don't need to take none of this home. You know, even paying for this space, albeit I got the friends and family hookup, but you still have to pay for it. So right now, I've not made a return on my investment, but I'm pouring into people that prayerfully they will sincerely read it. Leave a review on Amazon, please, if you will. They will sincerely read it and actually get something from it. I want that. I want to know, like, that shit sucks, bro. I need to know. So I'm like, well, maybe I should write the second and third book differently, because apparently I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I believe I am. We'll find out. So seriously, read it, internalize it, share with me your feedback. So, but getting back to the point, passion, purpose, paycheck. If you can't get that in your 9 to 5, look at how you get it otherwise. If you have to set up with a business venture of your own, if you contribute to boards, organizations, associations, whatever it is that you wake up and feel like you are living in your purpose. Was it Joel Osteen, purpose, living purpose?
Purpose-driven
Purpose.
life.
What is it? Purpose-driven life. Thank you. Good Reverend Doctor. So that's it. Passion, purpose, paycheck. Take that with you.
Well, so you're not gonna read? You're making an executive decision on the spot? It's okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read.
You're not gonna read.
They got the book. They can read it.
Okay.
But we can do questions.
No, I'm happy that we have questions, because maybe we'll take a couple minutes and open it up to you. But we'll take a couple questions in case if anybody actually has something they want to ask Tony. But one question that I have, I think, is a good a summary. There are people, I know you talked about taking you 10 years to get to this point, so
Sure.
Congratulations a million times. I also have like 3 book ideas that haven't even made it past a thought, so I will call you about that. However, for those of us that are contemplating writing a book or publishing our story in any capacity, what advice would you give them? Because obviously you're doing something right with already on a journey to 3 books. So what advice would you give us to help us make that dream a reality?
Sure. I think it would be relatively simple. The scripture says, study and show thyself approved. I don't read, admittedly after law school, I don't read as much as I used to. I used to love reading. Now it's more about I'm trying to digest information wherever I can get it. So I live on YouTube. I had to force myself to get back on social media in order to start marketing and publicizing, because I would spend more time either watching something on TV to decompress or in YouTube. So I spend a lot of time researching what this process looked like, not just to write it, but to also be to self-publish, and then to adapt that to what I already know from a business standpoint about setting yourself up as a business entity. So, but even before any of that, is just pay attention to what's around you. You know, shout out to my special, James Lassiter, Dink, also a published author. I watched his journey. I read his book. I asked questions. I got what to do and unfortunately what not to do. And that's all part of what I consider study and show thyself approved. You got to be a narcissist to think that you got it all. I don't. I don't. I humbly believe myself to be quite humble in that space, probably to my detriment sometimes. But again, study, show thyself approved. If something that you really think you want to do it. Whatever it is that you have a dream, a vision, a passion, an inclination, put it on your calendar. Be disciplined. I'm going to give myself an hour on Saturday and Sunday, 2 hours collectively because my life is too busy. This book, I spent an enormous amount of time at Dunkin' Donuts leaving the home. So Carmen's like, you know, we got all that big basement you can like set up down there. So now that's where I am, you know, working in the basement. So I'll stop spending money at Dunkin'. I like Dunkin' though, but anyway. So again, it's just be disciplined, set that time up, put it on your calendar, and devote to it, whatever it is, and just commit to yourself. The best investment you'll ever make is you. So if it's something that you believe you have something more that's in line with your purpose, not just your paycheck, be disciplined and set that time up for yourself to do it.
Thank you for that. Does anybody, go ahead, let's give a round of applause. You're right. You're right. Before we wrap up just this portion, because we're going to be here all, not all night. I'm sure Tony's not trying to stay here all night, but we'll continue. We're going to officially drink. Any questions for Mr. Author Tony Scott? Please.
First of all, as a comment, just I don't know any authors or anything like that, but I know of one. And with the resources that you have in order to get to this point, just shout out to you and also to your lovely wife as well. But my question is, for all of us in the room that are busy and got multiple things going on, how did you find time to organize to write the book so that it's in succinct order, so that individuals, when they read it from beginning to end, there's no interruptions or anything like that? So how did you find the time to organize to do that?
Honestly, I have to give God credit for that one. Part of that 10-year journey is I was trying to make it flow. I was trying to make it to where it wasn't being overly redundant, where I wasn't being scattered. And then just one day the epiphany came, do it alphabetically. And then also, I don't know if she's here, she said she was gonna make it to my editor, China Powell, who, when I gave her the product, it was rough. It was rough. She is not gonna make as much money off of me on the second and third book, because her strategy was to teach me to be a better author. My undergrad's in English. I know I can write. I know how I learned to write as a lawyer, but this was yet another curve. So in that space, she helped me to make it intelligent, make it succinct, make it where I wasn't just blabbering on. But it really came to just divine intervention, where one day it made sense to do it alphabetical. And then it wrote itself in the last year. Once I did that, it wrote itself. Rude.
Anything else? Any other questions in the room? Yes.
Throughout your process,
Which
I'm
one?
sure.
I'm sorry.
Throughout this process, I'm sure there are different times in which imposter syndrome popped up. How did you give yourself grace while remaining driven?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, honestly, my face is tingling right now on some imposter syndrome. This is crazy to me, right? This is surreal that my mother's son had the audacity to put words on paper and think somebody wants to read it. You know, I'm annoying the hell out of all of you on your social medias. I'm sorry. It's annoying to me. It is. I actually bought one of those ring lights a couple of months ago. I'm not this guy. I'm not.
You're like, yay. Yes.
It feels extreme. Do I even need this anymore? Drink starting to warm up. Okay. I mean, it's feeling very self-congratulatory to put it out there, to be posting. It's not me. But that's it, right? It's not about me. It's about what humbly I believe is a gift that's given to me, and gifts don't belong to you, they belong to the world. Absolutely. If you're an artist, you understand that. Right. I mean, and in my heart of hearts, before I became a lawyer, and it kind of changed the way I thought. I told you at one point I thought I was going to be an artist, you know, be it music, sang at our wedding, used to be in singing groups with my big curly hair back in the 90s. Really, that was the 80s, God. So in my heart of hearts, when I feel safe, when I feel most my true self, I'm an artist. And so for that reason, the gift doesn't belong to me, it belongs to y'all. And that's why what I said earlier is that prayerfully you get more out of it than what I got from writing it. You get as much or if not more. But the imposter syndrome is there. The more I learn, and if anybody doesn't know what imposter syndrome is, very short definition is you feel like a fraud. At any point in time, you're gonna get found out. Yep. At any point in time. And I mentioned earlier about not wanting to feel like I was a hypocrite in how I moved. Like, who was you? You from East Cleveland, you muddled your way through school. You've not been the best dude in everything that you've done. So who are you to tell anybody else? But I'm like, I'm still here. That's right. What they say in Finding Antoine Fisher, I'm still standing. I'm still strong. If y'all knew some of the things that I went through and had the audacity to still be here in front of you and to say, here, let me get this to you so you don't have to do it, then that's what this is. And so again, I'm not going to be fake and act like this isn't a bit of a selfish endeavor, because it is. And it does feed, you know, y'all need professional and personal development, small business, nonprofit, ISI consulting. That's me.
Nice plug.
Yes. But even beyond that, it's feeding my spirit to think that prayerfully, humbly, something in my journey can give to somebody else.
Well, awesome. Another question?
Right here, Ellie.
Awesome.
I'm so glad that that's where you stopped, because I've been holding on to something that you said earlier in the discussion this afternoon about.
I talk a lot. I'm a lawyer.
Listen, order in the court, right? You and I spoke extensively about 2 weeks ago in this very room about my own personal imposter syndrome. What I find interesting about how it's showing up for you in this space today is, as we were talking about the book and you were saying, you know, give me a review on Amazon, you know, but also give me feedback. Mm-hmm. So I guess as a fellow creative and as somebody who also kind of sits with herself in spaces and it looks different everywhere I am, because do I belong here? Am I supposed to be here? Brother, what I want you to consider is this. As you are writing these books and as you are pouring your story, you're a griot in this sense, right? You are pouring your story into those pages. The first book is not going to look like the second's not going to look like the third. And because of that, okay, maybe someone reads this first book and they say, right? But then they pick up the second and they say, aha. So whatever that feedback is, whatever your community pours into you and says like, yes, like this was great, or, you know, I was looking for more of this. Maybe as you're continuing to tell that story, they will find their aha in whatever's next to come. So if you do get that feedback that you're kind of like, well, they didn't like my book, that's okay. You got more coming. Because it's like you said, it's about the gift is imparting on us who are trying to be where you are, right? And it's okay. It's okay. And so just give yourself the grace to say, it's okay. And you probably already do that. I just feel better saying it out loud.
Cause now I'm nervous because she got a copy 2 weeks ago, so I feel like that's foreshadowing.
I hated it.
Yeah.
Flip the table, somebody.
Shot through the roof.
No. You know what I did with that book?
Actually.
Right.
You know what I did with that book? I gave it to my husband. Because this is hit, like, I know where I'm at in my journey, but he needs you. This is what he needs right now. So,
I love that. I appreciate that.
yes,
Thank you.
very
And
good.
Thank you for the
Awesome. We have another question.
Congrats, Tim.
Thank you. Shout out to Brother Jeter, also a fellow Mega Man and fellow author, and a phenomenal educator at Sullivan High School. Yes, sir.
Congrats on the journey. Thanks for the question.
Yes, sir.
The title of your book is a teacher of young adults at high school. What would be your biggest tip, without giving the entire book away, to give young black professionals to make it in this world? From the book.
No. There's a chapter, it's the second and third chapter on authenticity, and I think that's one of the biggest takeaways. Is find a way to be yourself. You know, I joke that now I'm in my 50s. I'm that old dude that's telling the kids to get off my lawn and drop random F-bombs, and I have the audacity. You know, somebody called me at work yesterday, and I didn't appreciate how he was talking to me, so I clarified it for him, and he was one of the top people in the administration. And that's because of authenticity. I'm gonna show up as me. I'm gonna show up as me. Toy was my number 2. She's now the number 1 when I was in Public Works, and we went through some very contentious staff members from time to time. Hashtag Mike Ingle. But show up and try to be yourself. You give a little bit of grace, but you know, you hard but fair in how you navigate things. And that all starts from being authentic. So anything else, if you're not authentic, you can't get to a chapter on appearance. You can't get to a chapter on imposter syndrome. You can't get to a chapter on entrepreneurship if you're not being real with yourself. And so I think that chapter is the most important from a holistic way to embrace it.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have another question? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations. Also want to say that it's amazing. Like I've spoken to you one-on-one, and I appreciate. I haven't even read the book, but I can see where it's at. I appreciate the transparency. You just talked about authenticity, and I know it takes a certain humility to do that. Tell me about the therapeutic. Was the book therapeutic for you to write that? And if so, how therapeutic was it?
It's been extremely therapeutic. Like I mentioned earlier, is that I started taking an honest look at myself and my journey in within this decade, you know, and the pandemic helped that because there was a lot of, we had time, right? You spend a lot of time with yourself during the pandemic. And so in that space, I had to look at myself honestly, what did I not like? You know, when I looked at the mirror, did I see what y'all saw? I know what my resume looks like. My resume is great. I'm gonna keep it above.
Right.
But I am not that piece of paper. What'd you say? I mean, I didn't feel like that person. I feel more like that person now than I did then. And I think it really just comes to removing that asterisk. Removing that asterisk, where if heaven forbid the Creator calls me home tomorrow, I feel better about the person that I am and what I gave versus what I took. And that if I am trying to truly be any type of mentor, friend, sponsor, that you can look at me as a living epistle and not a hypocrite. And so that's the humility, right? looking at myself like, bro, you kind of jacked up. You know, again, a lot of y'all in this room have watched my transformation and see the peace that I have within myself. The ability to be more transparent, to be more vulnerable, you know, and a lot of that came from self-exploration. And again, I got to give shout out to my wife who helped center me and helped me find that peace and that serenity, challenged me to be greater. Now I'm never home, so now she's kicking herself sometimes, you know, some of those, you know, some of the, you know, Nia doesn't like to be brought up, and I won't go into the deepness, but she has affirmed for me that I did a lot of things right because she called me on a lot of my bullshit. And she's been empowered and educated to do so. And so having to be ashamed, be embarrassed, be checked, rightfully so, by your seed is going to humble you if you truly are introspective. So shout out to her for helping me be better like I strived to make her better. And so that's it. And again, the bros will humble you, as we know. So they helped. They helped. Woo! They helped. So.
Well, with that, I think is there anything else you'd like to say?
I just want to say thank you. This is, my heart is so full right now. My heart is full. Thank y'all for believing in me. Thank y'all for supporting me. Thank you for sharing my story. I'm gonna thank you in advance for sharing my story, sharing this book with others. Thank you for don't just buy it because you're my friend. I mean, buy it because you're my friend. To be clear. Yeah, to be clear, buy it because you're my friend. However, read it. Read it, pour back into me what you got from it, where I missed the mark, where I needed more. I need to know that, because above and beyond this consulting world, this author publishing world, my work as a administrator, beyond above all of that, I'm a person, I'm a husband, I'm a father, grandfather. I want to be better for anybody that's in my sphere. So you paying back to me what you got out of this helps me to be a better version. And that's no malarkey, I promise you. I do mean it sincerely. But again, buy it, but read it, and then share it.
We're definitely going to. So we're going to buy it because we're your friend. So
Thank
everybody
you.
make sure if you didn't get in line, buy it. And then what I would challenge you to do is buy another one to share it with your friend.
Ooh, that's good.
And start the conversation of learning. I think it's, so thank you. I know you obviously thanked all of us in this room who have showed up for you today, who purchased the book, but being someone who's read multiple chapters throughout the book as I prepared for this today, thank you for your insights, your learnings, being vulnerable and sharing your story. I think that's the best way of learning is experience. And so thank you for sharing your experience with us. And I am really looking forward to continue the conversation. So we're gonna wrap up this little segment here, but please stay, have another glass of wine, pick up that book for the friend that we talked about. Maybe start talking about the chapter that you found interesting. Imposter syndrome was on page 157. Always wanted to be a teacher, I'm gonna give you homework. So, so stay, talk, let's grow and learn together and keep growing our family. Thank you, Tony.